Welcome, Aldeen. This is amazing that we have had the opportunity to have a conversation. You have an expertise in business coaching, and you coach in business houses, small businesses, big houses, corporates, into hiring practices. And then also have a client load of one-on-one coaching for people who are experiencing either career progression or looking for opportunities. Welcome to this conversation. Your expertise is most needed at this point. I'm so thankful.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, Tara. We've been chatting back and forth about a number of things, and when you invited me, I couldn't help but come on. I mean,
oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
I love chatting with you, and any opportunity to share with your audience and assist your audience better, especially during these uncertain times, I welcome the opportunity.
Yes, speaking of the uncertain times, it has, the whole concept is based on what we are navigating today with COVID-19. The precariousness of the job market has increased multifold. There has been a lot of job loss. Employers are repositioning themselves. But before we go into that aspect, and I know you and how amazing you are, but I'd like you to tell everyone, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
So my background has been in HR and operations. I've been in that space for almost a decade. Most recently, probably over the last 3 to 5 years, I've really been doing a lot more, I would say, formal coaching. Before in my career, I would be supporting leaders, so business leaders, management teams, board of directors, helping them really understand the different employer relation issues that would happen. I got a really great crossover into operations early in my career as well. So I've been able to support on the operations side and on the employee relations side. So now in my business coaching practice, I've incorporated what we call the triple bottom line. So I've got employers and clients that are heavily focused on the people aspect, profitability, obviously, on the bottom line, the core bottom line, but also looking at their impact. So, what impact they have on the planet. So looking at their community, looking at how they move or shake the different communities that they support. So for this type of very out of the blue kind of activity, Corona just decided, hey, 2020, let's make something happen. For me, that business coaching skill set, as well as the HR and operations background, has really helped me to help my clients, because a lot of them, like you mentioned, they're evaluating things like layoffs, terminations. They're looking at work sharing. We've been having lots of conversations about the different funding opportunities that exist, or that the government has actually created now that exists for small businesses. And that's predominantly where I work. I work with a lot of small to medium-sized companies, from solopreneurs to family-owned businesses to a couple of partnerships, that kind of thing. So at this time, I found that working with them, that the concern with uncertain times it's heightened the anxiety and hopefully not too much depression, but a lot of people are anxious, clients and employers alike. So I think my job has really been a part of what gives me joy, is really helping people remain calm and very pragmatic about how they approach the different situations that come up in their business, as well as career or personal life.
Amazing. And I think it's something that is need of the hour. It's most needed in today's time, when everything is like new. Everything, it's a changed reality that we are working in, and which is equally true for businesses as well as people that work therein. How has this impacted you as a person? What about you, your family? How have you kind of, being a working woman, obviously you're balancing multiple roles. What is going on?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, because I know we were chatting earlier, and it's kind of like this whole new reality just came overnight. One day we were taking our kids to school and we were heading into the office, and by Monday morning it was like, kids don't come back to school, you can't come back to the office, and we're kind of working from home. So for me personally, that transition was very instant. because now, you know, I work a lot from home to begin with anyways. So for me, working from home, I found my little rhythm. You know, I've got my process that I go through. However, having a 4-year-old coworker has not been as productive as you would imagine, right? And I know that's been the same for quite a few of my clients as well. They have younger children. And as much as they love their children and their families, you know, it's very difficult to balance that productivity as well as that parenthood component that comes in. So I know for me, for the first couple of weeks, it was like, oh my goodness, you know, how can I get my deadlines met? You know, how am I supporting my clients? How am I supporting myself at home? You know, with a 4-year-old coworker as well as my husband as well. So, you know, it's definitely interesting. Navigating that. I can imagine parents with older children are like, no, you know, we kind of set them aside. But, you know, when you have younger kids that really have a lot of high touch experimentation, it's very different.
Well, I love how you're describing her as a 4-year-old coworker.
She is. She is like a part of my schedule. So when we finally put the schedule formally, we put it on the fridge. I know a lot of parents can relate to this. We put it on the fridge, and then you've got mommy's work, and then you've got her activity beside it, and she's coloring in and doing her little things, so she knows what's happening then. You know, she is really my coworker.
Wow, that's so cute.
And she's in her little home office as well, and doing her little things. So,
well, honestly, that reminds me of my time when my kids were younger. Now they're all grown up. It's a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old. Yeah,
adults now.
Yes, I can say that. But the reality remains that they are also working from home, because both of them work, and we are trying to make sure that we are not into each other's space when we are trying to work. We are mindful of how we are closing the doors. You know, the person can be in a conference call, whatever have you. So it's a lot of walking on tippy toes to make sure make sure that everybody does have the space that they need to get their work done. So it's interesting. And also, from when they were younger, there were times when they would come to my office, and I had set up a separate table in my office space where they would just take out their homework and they would be doing their work, and because I would end up doing a lot of after time hours. So they would just work with me. So it's interesting that you brought that up.
That is my life now. You know, that is my life right now. And actually, in the beginning, it was kind of like, oh my goodness, I don't know how people work from home. But then the reality hits in. You know, a lot of people don't work from home with kids, right? Typically, work from home is just that. It's working at home. But with our new reality, working from home is working with family at home.
That's true.
So it's a lot of adjustment. I can't imagine people with multiple kids.
Oh gosh. Yeah. You know, when you're thrown into the mix, you end up surviving, and you know, somehow find a way to figure it out. So did you restructure your schedule in any way?
100%.
Okay.
100%. I'll probably say 2 things really work for me. 1, don't wing it. Like, don't wing it. It doesn't work. I can tell you. I tried for the first couple of weeks. I'm like, I got this. You know, my schedule's pretty fixed. So I set my own schedule. But I said, you know, I'll plug her in. But then the reality kicks in.
Other way around.
Like, she's 4. She doesn't know how to schedule it. Like, that means nothing to her. So it was, don't wing it. So, you know, you've got to get a structure in place. You've got to create boundaries. You've got to, you know, rely on the support that you have. Like, my mother is out of the country. I have her, you know, doing her reading with her grandma, you know, on WhatsApp or on Zoom while I'm getting a chance to focus. So it's really getting creative, you know, and that comes from not winging it. Like, you really have to think this thing out. So she's got a schedule in there where she's reading with grandma, and that gives me time to do either a call or a coaching call or whatever it is that I got to do. So don't wing it, please. Don't be like me. The first couple of weeks were crazy. And the second thing is really do what works for you. Like, I know there are a lot of prescriptive things out there. There are a lot of, I mean, Google has some great ideas, but don't feel compelled to, you know, align with 1 or 2 or 3 or all the ideas you see. Really find out what resonates with you. So, you know, for me, I've got, you know, a child under 6, so there's certain activities that I can't just give her a book and say go read. You know, it's very different. So finding activities and strategies that really work for you is important. And probably it'll take a little bit of experimentation, you know, because some of the ideas, they sound really great when you read them in a blog or someone makes a recommendation. But, you know, try to play with a couple of ideas, but then find what works for you. And I think if you don't wing it, you put a plan in place and you explore some opportunities, there's alternatives. Once you kind of find that, it's not set in stone, but it definitely helps. And for me, I can say the first couple of weeks of this whole quarantine, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get any work done. And then you started to slowly, you know, get into a rhythm. And now I can say I'm a lot more productive. There's a lot more stuff that I'm doing. I'm even able to take on new clients now because of the way I've been structuring things. So that'd be my advice.
That's actually wonderful advice, and I think this is my first conversation with somebody who has a 4-year-old coworker. So
Good.
I'm sure
not child labor, in case any ministry official is listening. They are not paid. They are not given a job description.
Oh wow! Yeah, no, but this is wonderful that now somebody will have an opportunity to listen to you and see how they can follow that structure. What about the professional space? What advice and tips are you giving to your clients, whether they are in the business? And I'd like you to break it down into 2. For businesses, what is 2 or 3 tips that you're giving them at this point, and what would be for clients that you're coaching who are in the process of job search?
All right, so I'm probably going to start with the easier ones, the job search guides first.
Okay.
I'd probably say my top 2 tips for job seekers right now is really look for opportunities to add value. I find a lot of job seekers are trying to get in the faces of employers, even in the face of adversity. I want to say that's admirable, but to be quite frank, a lot of employers are not looking for the best candidate right now. They're not looking for the top. That may be generally what they look for, but really what they're looking for at this point, at least from my perspective, from the clients I've worked with, they're looking for people that can add value right now. So is there a way that you can connect with some of the companies that you really want to work with and add value? Add value could be volunteering at a COVID relief effort that they're supporting. You know, if there's an opportunity to lend a helping hand or to do something, how can you put your hand up and still be visible to get that type of attention, right? So for me, it's been where can you find or add value? It could even be as simple as sharing a post to your community that they've posted, right? Or, you know, like I mentioned before, showing up at an initiative that they've put out. So try to find a way for the client, for the company that you're looking for, how can you add value, right? The second thing that I would say is use this opportunity to evaluate the market. Because one of the conversations I had with a client recently, they wanted to change careers and they were in the process of doing that before this hit. And one of the areas that they were heading into was tech. And with the startup space. And right now there are lots of articles and feedback about, you know, startup ventures not getting as much funding or funding being difficult and, you know, new hoops to climb through and jump through for funding. So it's a really good time for you to really stop and evaluate the market. If you were planning to go into certain fields or, you know, work with certain companies, some of these companies unfortunately won't be around after this. Right? Or they'd have very limited expansion plans after this. So really take the time. I know for a lot of job seekers, they're so anxious. They want to get out there. They want to do it. But sometimes when life throws you wrenches in your plans, sometimes it's a good idea to stop and kind of reframe, refocus, revisit your real intentions of why you were doing what you were doing, and look at what you anticipate will become the new normal. because a lot of what we were doing before or planning to do before might not exist a couple months or a couple years from now. So, you know, just take the time to see where you can add value in your community or in the community of the companies that you're looking for, and then really take the time to evaluate where you're going to go as a job seeker, because for some people, this might not be the best time to change careers. Maybe you might want to go back, roll with, you know, what you've known for a bit until the market settles. But those would be my top two.
Wonderful.
For job seekers.
So those are for job seekers. What are you kind of advising your clients that are businesses?
So for my business clients, well, for most of them, they're not hiring anymore. So I've kind of held off on a lot of the hiring advice there. But the first thing that I've been mentioning, we've had to walk through a lot of issues with employees. What do we do with them? How do we, you know, allocate hours? Can we afford to keep everybody? What does that look like if we can't? So we've actually had to pause and really take a good look at what our business is doing. You know, how are we going to respond? And for them, that opens up a lot of can of worms, depending on who you're talking to and how deep the conversation goes. But really, it's you know, how do they respond? So my tip right now is really understand where you have essential people. So, you know, what's essential for you? Is your core business services, products, whatever it is, what is really essential for you at this point? And what can you look at as an alternative to those non-essential components? I have a particular client, most of their jobs are very physical, and they're looking at laying off all the people that are out in the field. And a conversation I had to have, I said, well, how can we repurpose them? Like we all know that you can't do warehousing or field work from home, right? Unfortunately. But how can you repurpose these employees? And in one case, we were actually able to identify a business partner of theirs, or a company, a neighboring company that could absorb some extra labor. So
okay, that's interesting,
right?
To have to find somebody who's willing to collaborate with you in that way.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes if we're able to look, depending on the skill set that you have, you're able to find, you know, people in your community, your business community, that could leverage some of the skills. Work share programs I've done a lot of talk and a lot of conversations we've had about work share, how we can do work share. We've looked at top up options. We've looked at how, now that the government's kind of changed how they're subsidizing wages and so on. So really helping them identify what's essential that we can hold on to right now that will enable business continuity. And then looking at those non-essential pieces. And, you know, from a business perspective, it sounds really hard when you say non-essential workers, but, you know, these people have families, right? They have bills, they have responsibilities. So how can you as a company support them during that time? For one client, it was, you know, helping them identify alternative work that could be done. For others, it was looking at, you know, implementing an EI top-up where you kind of had to lay them off because of the nature of the work. But, you know, you could look at topping up their EI or doing a work share where it made sense. So the one thing is really identifying what's essential and non-essential, and creating a practical plan to deal with both of those. And the second thing that I'd probably say has been something that I would recommend to business owners that are listening, and something that I've been advocating for, is now's a great time to connect with other people in your industry and learn from what they are doing. Too many times we kind of focus in our little bubble or in our little industry, but there are lots of best practices and companies that are doing some really great things out there. I know in the tech space and the service space, a lot of these companies have repurposed their tech for, you know, job search resources. They've changed a couple of their algorithms, or even how they approach certain things, to help identify low-cost essential items like masks and supplies. So is there a way for you to help your community? Is there anything that you can do in your community? How can you support, or how can your community support you? So you're not alone in it. Everybody's going through this, like we mentioned, it's very uncertain times. It's not something anyone planned for coming out of 2019 or, going into 2020 in your planning meetings. So really leverage community around you where possible. There are a lot of associations out there, small business associations, female business associations, boards of trade. What kind of community can you leverage to support you? Because oftentimes you're not the only one facing the challenge that you have. And if you're able to, collaborate or, identify people in your community that are experiencing something similar, there's a good chance you'll be able to find some synergies there as well.
That's great advice. I completely agree with you on that. Unless you talk to people, you'll never know what collaborative can be formed and how you can support the community. It's always good to bounce ideas and, network. So this is amazing. What about you having witnessed any acts of kindness? Would you be able to identify somebody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Wow, that's an interesting one, eh?
It could be in person, it could be a small deed that you really appreciated, or something big that you've seen on social media.
Now I can't remember the name of the company, but I know there are a couple of companies. Chef Hero comes to mind, and there was another one. I can't remember what they're called, but they were two companies that repurposed with added different elements to their company to support COVID-19 efforts. So, I mean, that's really commendable.
I actually read about Chef Hero just today. So it's interesting that you're mentioning them. And
there's another one I know. They are, I believe, a procurement platform, and they work with food procurement. So they work with restaurants, and they've pretty much altered their platform for the next little bit to support frontline workers with food. So they are helping frontline workers stay fed, hydrated, supported. And I really commended them on that because I thought that was a really good initiative. I really have to say our business community has been very creative, in coming up with solutions and ideas to support those that are really on the front lines of this Corona situation. And then there's one person, Melanie from Startup Canada. She has been, I've got to say, she's a powerhouse up. She has been really, really supportive of especially startups. A lot of the events that they've been hosting, and like I said, I work a lot with solopreneurs and small to medium-sized businesses, a lot of them out of that startup space or incubators or even small business associations. So she's been on, I don't know if you guys follow her, I believe her last, now you're going to put me on the spot to remember her last name when I can't.
Don't worry, send me the link and I'll add them.
I will, please post it. And she has been, sharing a lot of resources for especially startups. There was a partnership that they did with Square that's waiving, I believe, cost of payments for startup businesses that businesses that sign up with them. And there are a couple of different partnerships that she has initiated and really helped smaller and startup and now they're calling scale-ups as well. So you've got startup scale-ups and you've got your small to medium size. So she's been really instrumental in connecting people in that community. So I'd probably say, shout out to our tech TO companies. We're the largest supercluster in the world, and we're really putting that to good use these days, which is great. And then, of course, that's Melanie. She's really been really just rallying the troops. Every post I see that she's putting out, it's here's a benefit that you can leverage. Here's a grant that's been posted. Here's a connection that if you're looking for, here's a discount that we've gotten for Startup Canada. So it's been really great.
Yeah, and it's really need of the hour. I would say, first, it's hard on businesses, and especially if they do not have a very long life cycle, they do not have the kind of funds to be able to survive and sustain themselves. So any help at this point is really, really appreciated. I'm sure Melanie is doing a wonderful job providing that information and resource. That's wonderful. You yourself are very giving. I know you champion a lot of initiatives within the community. you focus on women. How about we turn the tables and I ask you, this is my favorite question. Okay, how about I ask you, if you had a magic wand and if you could ask something for yourself, and this has to be for yourself, what would you ask for?
Wow. Wow, you really know how to put someone on the spot, eh? Honestly, I would really ask for more community support. For myself, I would say there's an initiative that's really close to me, and that's women in business, more so Afro-Caribbean women in business. So if I had a magic wand right now, I would ask for more funding that you know, our nonprofit programs can really get a lot more boost to help female entrepreneurs. There's an online incubator that we're putting together for, you know, female-owned businesses. And if I had that magic wand, I would need some funding so that every participant there could get some seed funding when they're done to make their business dream a reality. So that would be
more power to you for that one. I mean,
thank you.
Absolutely. And again, you're asking for others, not necessarily for yourself, but then I will have to give this one to you because I know those are causes, when those are close to your heart, it is as if it's your own, you know, that's your sunshine moment to see those smiles come through. What is it that you would like to give, that one piece of giveaway advice as we wrap the conversation, your gift to everybody that's engaging with this content?
Okay. Tip? You mean like a tip,
an advice, piece of advice? What is it that you want to leave people with? Okay,
perfect. All right. I try to share this, I guess, on any platform I get an opportunity to. It's really stay grounded, you know. And I say grounded as opposed to saying positive, because staying grounded helps you stay positive, right? There's a lot going on. A lot of people are anxious. Some people are very opportunistic. They're looking for, you know, the next big opportunity. Hopefully more creating opportunities for others, but, you know, really stay grounded. You know, whether it is that you're religious or maybe you're someone who has affirmations that you do every morning, you know, just having gratitude for what you've got, looking at the positive, the silver linings, the fact that you can work from home if you are, you know, if you're on EI, at least you're having an ability to cover some of your basic needs. You know, if you have loved ones that you're caring for, or if you are grieving potentially for loved ones as well, just being grateful, even in this time that, you know, things could be significantly worse. You know, so staying grounded, knowing that this too shall pass. It's not the end of your life. It's not the end of your business. It's not the end of your career. It's not the end of what you're going to be doing with 2020. So really just staying grounded, I think really helps you to keep moving. Right? I know it's kind of counterintuitive if you're grounded to keep moving, but staying grounded helps you not get too caught up in what's going on, that, you know, you're able to maintain your perspective and keep moving. So my advice to anyone listening, stay grounded.
That's a wonderful piece of advice, Aldeen. I would say it is centering your energy, as you said, to the ground, where you're able to reflect on and be grateful for what you have in your life.
That's
and
right.
Then positioning yourself to what the future holds. Oh my God, you are just so amazing.
Well, Tara, you are amazing as well. I mean, every time we have a chat, it's like, oh my goodness, we can't stop talking. So thank you.
Thank you so much. No, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and sharing your wisdom with me. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure others will benefit too.
Please make sure to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell to keep updated with all our videos. Thank you.